So in today's video, what I'm going to be talking about is how to overcome self-limiting beliefs, which is something that I think that, going by what people have been, when people submit to the group about, things that they're having trouble with, then, this is something that comes up a lot. Thanks for confirming that, William. So self-limiting beliefs, this is something that comes up a lot. I see this, have lots of discussions with people about this. So it's something I thought that I should cover because it is something that, everyone is suffers with this, but when we start to go down this personal development path, it's something we become more aware of as we increase our self-awareness, as we start to understand and learn more about ourselves. We start to question things. We start to think, well, why do I have this self-sabotaging behavior? Why do I have this self-doubt? Why do I procrastinate? All these different types of limitations that we have, and as we go down this path, it's something that we start to look into, and something that we can definitely address when we become aware of it. So firstly, I really want to talk about where it comes from, and I've talked about this briefly. I've mentioned this briefly before when I was talking about I think I was discussing procrastination, and it's really to do with this previous programming. We are creatures of habit, and a lot of our behaviors, our thoughts, our actions, a lot of the stuff that we do, a lot of it is habitual. And this is why it's very good to question our thoughts, to start questioning our mind. And this previous programming, this can be from our environment. I talk about our environment quite a lot, how it has such an influence on us, and the previous programming of our past. Because if you want to really be honest about this, if you want to project into the future what you can expect from yourself, then look at your past. Unless you're going to start to change your thinking and start changing your actions, then you're going to be getting the same results. And this is sort of quite a stark reality for some people, but really this is what it takes to really get lasting change, is to start to question our beliefs in our mind. So a lot of our behavior, the things that we've done in the past, our conditioning, how we've been brought up, and certain influences around our life has created these habitual habits and thought processes and patterns that have created how we are and how we operate in day to day. And a lot of it is, like I said, is habitual. A lot of our thought process, a lot of the time we have the same thoughts on a daily basis. It's something like 95% of we have the same thoughts. So you need to start questioning this, start questioning our thoughts. And this brings me on to self-talk. Now, self-talk is something that's very important, and really what we need to start to do is question our self-talk on a daily basis. And this is not just to do with what I'm talking about here, about our limitations, but it fits in very well with this, but it fits in with everything really, because if we're starting to work on ourselves, we're working on our personal development, but then we have a lot of these negative thoughts in our mind, we need to start to look at this, and we need to really understand that we can change the thoughts in our mind. There will be habitual thoughts, obviously, that come into our mind, but by increasing awareness of this, by when we wake up in the morning, or are we having negative thought patterns running, and we can be more and more conscious of our thoughts and try to be a bit more detached from our mind, and realize we don't have to engage with a lot of the thoughts and these, a lot of, like I said, is habitual that pops into our mind. We don't have to engage with those, and we can actively have an intent to try and change our state, our thoughts, our actions moving forward. So really having an understanding and being aware of our self-talk is going to be a huge step moving forward. And really we need to, when we're thinking about our self-talk, there is this NLP practice, which stands for neuro-linguistic programming, if you're not familiar. And what it is that when we have these past, we have these thoughts come up, these sort of negative thoughts about how we are, negative thoughts about ourselves, we can change the context of it. Rather than thinking, oh, I'm a I'm someone who procrastinates, we can change it to a more of a past tense to I'm someone who used to procrastinate. And just by changing the tense of this, it gives us a better way of looking at ourselves, a better way of interacting with the thoughts that are in our mind. And this is just a little technique that we can use. But one of the things that I would say is that when we're looking at our self-talk, we're starting to question our mind, our beliefs, our thoughts. We need to really, and I touched on this a bit last week when I was talking about levels of consciousness and the victim mindset. And we need to start giving up blame and excuses, because on one side, people want to give up they want to stop these self-limitations that they have, but then they have these excuses of why they can't do something, or blaming someone or their situation or something that's happened or whatever it is. This blame and excuses is something that is an act of self-sabotage, because you're limiting yourself by putting those thoughts of these negative thoughts of, oh, I can't do that because. And that stops you actually taking the action, the thing that's actually going to create the change. So we have to really be aware of this. We have to give up blame, give up excuses, be more open-minded, be open to potential, and having cultivating that inner belief that you can do something, that you can change, that you can overcome some limitation that you have. And so this is really just, again, another process of questioning these thoughts that we have in our mind. So what else did I want to say on that? Yeah, because really, we really need to get out of our own way. It's really coming back to this taking this real ownership ourselves of this personal responsibility, and realizing that we are the biggest problem that we're going to have in life. Yes, things happen in life, bad things happen, things that are out of our control. That's part of letting go and understanding the process of life. But we also have to understand that our way of dealing with life, our perspectives, our emotional development, these are the things that are ultimate. And again, like our limitations, these are the things that will help us have a much better quality life, because it's of how we deal with the things that happen in life and in these perceived challenges that happen in life. People deal with them in very different ways, and this comes back to what I was talking about with the levels of consciousness, our level of emotional development, our level of consciousness, etc. So really, we have to understand taking personal responsibility. And really, we are the biggest problem that we need to overcome. And obviously, this comes back to continuing this journey of personal development and working on ourselves. This is going to, help us overcome these limitations, help us overcome our excuses and, blaming, and really started to be a bit more proactive in our personal growth and start taking responsibility for where we are and how to move forward. So really, it's really this getting out of our own way and letting ourselves, be our full potential, as it were. Because like I touched on previously, if we act and think and, we have the same sort of thinking and behaviours that we did previously, we are going to get the same results in life. We have to understand this. So it starts with our inner world, starts with questioning our mind, questioning our thoughts, and then we'll start as a result of that, then our beliefs on things will shift and our actions will shift. We'll start doing different things, and that will be a positive confirmation of the change that we want to see in ourselves. So really, and again, this is going to create new habits. It's going to put us on this path of more favourable behaviour, or behavioural change or shift in whatever it is that we're looking to change. And what we have to do is when we question our mind, we have to understand that our mind is very good at justifying, and it will try and validate a reason why, an excuse why you can't do this. And we have to really understand that. We have to, constantly question the mind. The mind isn't always, or the egoic side of the mind isn't on our side. It's very comfort centric, and we have to understand that. It's designed, it's inherently designed for our safety, and this is why it keeps us trapped in this sort of comfort centric area. But we really have to question that, because a lot of those sort of ancient patterns that we have, these comfort centric parts of our mind, that they're not relevant anymore, and it's not really aligned with more of our soul's journey, our journey of growth. This is where fulfillment really is. So we have to constantly question that, and the mind is very good at justifying, of validating. It'll find a reason why you can't do something or why you can do something, etc. And we all probably would have experienced this. So we really have to understand that, and just be more aware of these thought processes, be a bit more detached from our mind, and look at more of where we want to go, and is it aligned with that? Are these thoughts, are these actions more aligned with where I want to go? So we really need to, it touches on to what I mentioned before about, we have to ask better questions. And one of my mentors, he says it this way. He says, questions are the steering wheel of the mind, and it's going to direct your focus. If we're questioning things, if we're starting to ask questions about, how could I do this? Could I do this better? More of a proactive approach is going to steer our focus. And ultimately, when we steer our focus, we'll start to come up with more thoughts and questions, and we'll start to get more of an understanding of how to achieve something. We'll move in that direction. Then our beliefs increase because we understand it more, and then we're more likely to take actions in that place. So it all starts with the questioning of the mind, and this more self-awareness of our thoughts. Right. So yeah, one thing that we can do is really, when we're doing this, when we come up with these excuses, because we've all done this, and I can totally relate to this. When we're coming up with these excuses of, I can't do that, or we're coming up with these reasons why, I would just ask you to ask yourself, what if? What if you could do that? What if you do have this change? What if you do overcome this self-imposed limitation? What if you do overcome this belief or this self-sabotaging that you're doing that is stopping you getting to where you want to be, to become your best self, or to move in the direction of your goals and dreams? Ask yourself a question of what if, and this is really opening our mind up to possibility, and this is really something that's going to help us just really start to move in that direction of possibility, of maybe I could do that. And it's much better than the sort of just being stuck in this place of just making excuses and just completely ruling out any sort of change. So what I do like is this quote from Henry Ford, and what he says is, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And this is very true, and I include this in my email today because it's a very powerful quote, because it's very true that it comes back to what I was saying, that you have something, and you give it to one person, you give it to someone else, and someone will see the possibility, someone will say they can't do it, etc. And really it just comes down to our beliefs in what we can achieve, and it's really cultivating this more open mindset to really having this possibility of if we can do that, because we, like I said, we will justify anything to ourselves, and really it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, because you'll be like, well, I knew I couldn't do that, or etc., because it's just self-fulfilling, because your actions will be a result of your thinking. So one thing I would say on this is that in order to start to have this shift, apart from our self-talk, which is one of the biggest things, is start putting the right information in. Start feeding yourself information to do with personal growth, to do with, I like to read autobiographies of people who are very successful or who have achieved things, and it could be in completely different fields, because it gives you a reference point. It gives you a more of an understanding of the possibilities that things that people have actually achieved. Because a lot of the time, if we're on this journey of personal growth and we're very isolated, a lot of the time we don't have much of a reference point of shifting our beliefs of what is possible. Yes, we might see someone on the television who's started this business, or that's successful athlete or something, but we don't have this reference point. And this is again why one of my 3 keys to lasting personal transformation is your peer group, is having people around you who are on their journey of personal growth, who have overcome maybe past traumas, who are overcoming their limitations, who might be starting businesses, running marathons. They're really pushing the limit on human potential. So really we have to start putting the right information in, and this comes from spending time with the right people, spending time with people who are in that moving in that direction of personal growth, who are doing things in their life. They're not coming up with excuses. They're more proactive. They're taking charge. They're taking ownership and personal responsibility for themselves, and they're moving forward, in the right direction. So spending time with those people, consuming information from people. Obviously, you're in this group. It's a personal development type group, so you're on the right path. You're seeking information based on where you are and the things that you're dealing with, the areas that you're looking to grow. And by continuing to put more of that information into your mind, obviously this is a process of reconditioning the mind, because like I said in the beginning, we do have this habitual process with the mind. A lot of our thought patterns and our subconscious patterns that govern a lot of our thoughts and behaviors. So by putting the right information in, we're constantly building more neural connections. We're building more information and more knowledge about what is actually possible, and we have more reference points, more people that we're following that really are actually doing those things. We realize so much of our limitations are self-imposed. You look at some of the people who are super successful, and again, success is a broad term, and again, that depends on what that means to you. But they're living their dreams. They're living a fulfilled, happy life, and you look at them, and really they've come from very different backgrounds. And they've overcome many different things that many of us might be dealing with. So there isn't much difference. The only difference is our self-imposed limitations. So this is really one of the steps to start to make a shift, start to put the right information in. Obviously, on the other side of that, we need to understand that we need to stop putting the wrong things in. So any sort of fear-based like the mainstream media, I talk about this, I've mentioned this before, yes, a lot of people have this sort of need for certainty of what's going on in the world, but you have to understand that as animals, effectively, we have this comfort-centric part of the mind, the amygdala in the mind. It focuses on negativity before positivity. This is like just a safety mechanism. So by the volume of what we're consuming, are you consuming more negative, more fear-based information, or more positive information? Because this is going to have an effect on you. You look at people and who are sitting there watching the mainstream media, all day, and they're more the people who are making excuses, who are coming up with who blame, and they're arguing about things that don't really matter. What you really need to start to question or start to consider for yourself, what is more important? I mean, obviously there are bad things happening in the world, and we need to be compassionate and understanding that a lot of the bad things that are happening. But at the same time, we need to look at where we're focusing ourselves. What's going to make more of a difference to you, your life, your loved ones, and the people, other people in humanity, if you're sitting there watching the mainstream media all the time, or if you're working on your personal growth, becoming your best self, living to your full potential, and living a life of joy, and you're more spreading the love rather than you sitting there in fear. This is going to have much bigger impact on yourself and your loved ones and other people around you. So it's really where we're putting our focus. So really putting the right things in, not consuming so much of the negativity that's out there, because let's face it, whatever you want to focus on is available. So, you really just have to make that decision for yourself. What is more important? What's going to be more important for your growth? So, another thing that is one of the things that I take my students through is really diving in deep with these subconscious patterns. So there is different methodologies, like I said, because we're engraving this new mind, this new neural process in our mind. We're creating this new self. So one of the things I take my students through is actually getting some of this bad stuff out, because some of these subconscious patterns, yes, you can do exactly what I'm saying here, because obviously what I say on these live streams, I always try to give you something that you can take away and you can implement straight away. But obviously if you're going to go deeper than that, then there's other processes that you can do to dig into, past behaviors and things that have happened, etc. And another way to start to get rid of these limitations. So really this is more of a process of, we're conditioning our new self. Like I said, we're moving in the direction of creating our best self by going through these processes of questioning our self-talk, by putting the right information in and start to really open our mind into the potential of ourself, of what other people have achieved as a reference point of ourself, what we can, the person, having these questions of the person that I could become, having this what if I could become, my best self, or regardless of what that means to you. But what happens if I could overcome these limitations? What happens if I could start that business, reach my health goals? All these different things. We have to have this mindset of potentiality. So like I said previously, our environment has a huge impact on us, and this is why I talked about upgrading your peer group. Upgrading your peer group is going to have a big impact on you. The people you spend the time around with, if they're people who are growth centric, obviously this is going to rub off on you. And it gives, like I said, it gives you a reference point, because sometimes this personal growth journey, it can be a bit lonely. I know lots of people in the industry, and a lot of the time when we go down this path, often we find the people, our friends or family, they're not doing this sort of stuff. They're not on this journey. They're more of living in more of effect with life. They're sort of just going with life as it is, but they're not really actively looking to grow or looking to achieve certain things, because it can be quite lonely. So really we have to start to question the people around us and the influences it has on us. Like I said about the things that we put in, into our mind, it does have an effect on us. So the people we spend our time with, the conversations we're having, the beliefs they have, if they have limitations, if you're spending time with other people who have lots of limitations, but they're not questioning them, they're not working on themselves, then the things that they're saying, their beliefs, the conversations you're going to have, obviously that's going to have an effect. So on the opposite side to that, if you're spending time with people who are more growth centric, then again, if you have this limitation, someone might be able to, have you tried this? Have you tried this technique? Or have you done this? Have you tried reading this book or learning this? There's going to be much more that's really going to have a positive impact on you, because, those are the people who are working on themselves. And obviously that's going to have an influence on you as well. So one thing I want to say on this is, after we start to question our self-talk and we start to think about the things that we are thinking, these patterns that we're running, we might have this certain negative self-talk, that why we can't do something. Once we start opening our mind up to what if, and we start to question, these thoughts that we're having, we really need to start to take action. And this is one of the things that you'll hear me repeat time and time again, is taking action. Learning the information, yes, we need to do that. We need to learn the right information so we know where to begin, or to give us new perspectives or insights or information on things that we probably didn't know, for example. So having the information is important, but always getting to a point where we're going to implement, because otherwise we just get into this information gathering mode and we don't really get much lasting change. We might sound very good and we can talk about this stuff to our friends, etc., but it's who you are. Are you actually living this? Are you actually living this information? Are you actually doing the things? Are you actually growing? Are you actually starting to overcome these limitations? Are you starting to create the life of your dreams? Are you starting to become the person that you want to be? So it's really about a level of taking action. And we can do this by creating goals, by understanding our purpose. But one thing I would say on this, a lot of people within the personal development industry, they talk a lot about goals and purpose and things like this. But really, I would say, first of all, you really need to start to tune into yourself. Do this level of self-inquiry of our thoughts, etc., to understand ourselves on an authentic level first, because this will really give us a foundation to move in the direction of our purpose or our goals. Because otherwise we'll go off on some journey and on some direction, and we'll understand that that's not really who we are or what we want to do. But sometimes that's what it takes. Sometimes we need to get ourselves out there, start doing stuff before we get feedback from life, and then we can start shifting direction. That's fine, but really it all comes down to the foundational aspect of increasing our awareness and starting to learn more about ourselves and becoming an authentic expression of ourselves and acting in that way. And then we can start moving in the direction that ties me back into taking action, because then we're moving in that direction, because action will give us feedback. If you're not a dancer, for example, and you have all these reasons why you can't dance, but then you go and take a dance class and then you start getting better and better and better. And again, taking action is about the consistency of that action that gets the results. And then you start getting good. Then you start creating this new self-image. And again, one of my 3 keys to lasting personal transformation is this inner shift of creating this new self-image. And by taking these actions, this is what is going to create this new self-image, because we have results. We have tangible results of, yes, I've done this. I'm now this magnificent dancer, or whatever it is. You've taken the dance class, you've got better, you've got the results, and then you see yourself as a dancer. You don't see yourself as someone who is sitting there making excuses of why you can't be a dancer, etc. So it comes down from what I was saying is understanding ourselves, starting to take action, and then we start getting results, and then that reconfirms our belief of ourselves. And then we can, we're starting to push past these different limitations. And then we understand that our comfort zone is, it's just holding us back. It's just one of the things that is, like I said before, it's the ancient part of our brain that's trying to keep us safe. And anything different or a new place or new people, oh my god, it's scary. This is the ancient part of our brain trying to keep us safe, and it doesn't serve us. We have to understand that fulfillment is outside of the comfort zone. It's in the growth zone, as I like to call it. And again, this is coming back to understanding ourselves. Once we understand ourselves, and then we know the direction that we need to go in, and then we can understand I might need to do that presentation in front of those people, or do something a little bit scary, because public speaking is always one of those things that is pretty uncomfortable for people. So it's just one of those things where we have to understand that our comfort zone is keeping us keeping us tied back. So by understanding where we want to go, then we can start to move in that direction. And yes, that might mean stepping outside of your comfort zone, but once you start to do it time and time again, you realize that that a lot of those feelings that we get is it's just, you get used to it, and really it's actually not as scary as you think. Then you get a massive sense of fulfillment afterwards, because you're moving in the direction of your goals and dreams. And that is again, that's why that level of fulfillment is tied in with stepping outside the comfort zone.